It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow, you know something? We really don't have to do anything, Eric. We don't have to do any type of radio show anymore. We can just sit back and watch over the years. In fact, we should just sit back because, again, I'm at retirement age. You're still a few years away. But let's be honest. Can I be honest with you?
No.
I'm way past retirement age.
Well, I'll say this. I'm way past my prime.
But all we have to do is sit back and watch the census. I was thinking about this yesterday. You know, all the blah, 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 yada, 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 back and forth. It's like, no, just sit back and wait because there it is, the story yesterday, which is really, really, really fascinating when you think about it. When you think
the breakdown is
when you combine the politics with the census,
right,
and where it's going. And we've talked about this before. For example, they believe that, and again, to project out like they have, there are so many variables involved in it.
Right.
But still, when they look at it, and we had talked about this, that Texas they view as a state that's going to have 100 million people in 74 years.
Mm-hmm.
100 million people. Dallas-Fort Worth, that's currently, oh my gosh, I don't want to, I will, wait a minute, I will be dead. I have to put up with it. But even with my death 74 years from now, they will, we have what, 8.5 million?
Right.
In North Texas, basically. Right. 35 million.
Yeah.
And California, New York is going to remain stagnant. And it's like, well, how does that all work out? New York and California projected to lose 6 House seats to red states by 2030, the census analysis shows. Blue states appear to be on the brink of a growth decline after a census analysis released yesterday found that Democrat strongholds are likely to lose congressional seats to their Republican counterparts after 2030. New York and California specifically are projected to lose a combined 6 seats, while Texas and Florida may gain 8.
Yeah.
According to the 2025 based estimates forecast by Jonathan Serves at Carnegie Mellon University and shared by the Redistricting Network, the new data most notably underscores a looming downfall for New York State, which has been steadily losing seats since the 1940s. This is not good news for New York or California, said Jeff Weiss, director of the New York Election Census and Redistricting Institute of New York Law School, according to the New York Post. Other blue state delegations, including Illinois, Rhode Island, and Oregon, are also projected to lose 1 to 2 seats, while red states such as Utah and Idaho are expected to make small gains. But you go back, you project this out the next couple of decades, and they're talking about the fact, that the traditional states that the blue states hold, places like Wisconsin, whatever, they look at, what will make up future presidential elections. They're like, those things, they're not going to matter as much anymore.
Right.
It's not going to be the same route as you just saw just a couple of years ago, even in 2020.
It's interesting. You look at these dynamics, basically, that they used here and what's going on now and how this is projected out. And as you mentioned earlier, it's kind of hard to know for sure. There's some variables, and those variables, again, could change. But you have to ask yourself the basis of those variables, right? Of the basis of what's going on, the overall picture here, the migration of people from New York State, from California to Florida and Texas and other states. What would change that? Well, it would have to be lower cost of living, an expanding economy. It would have to be a pretty massive change in both of those states. And then you have to ask yourself, do you believe at all that in this period, if you're talking about, let's say, between now and 2040, now and 2044, do you believe those states are going to go red, that their leadership, that not only are their governors going to be conservatives, that their lawmakers, their body of lawmakers are going to be more conservative? That's not going to happen. Which means and we see how the radical agenda has really ramped up. Just in a short period of time, like they're full on. You can't get away with not doing something. You if you're on the left and you're a lawmaker or a governor or whatever it might be, the left is going to, your constituents, the radical base of that constituency is coming after you. They want to know. They're getting in your face. We had the article. I forget who did it. Was it Axios that did it? That talked about the lawmakers that were approached, and they were out for blood. That was last year, but they were out for blood. They want, the radicals don't care. You've got to be doing something radical every day if you're a Democrat and you're in office. That's the whole point. So we're light years away from. We'll be living on Mars before New York and California go red. We'll be living on the red planet before they go red.
Well, but when everything that they're doing, and we talked about this with about Democrats, political parties have to have the concept of uniting, and you unite through shared values, and shared beliefs in what is the right thing to do. And you can see, the Republican Party on different issues, they will fragment here, there, whatever. But the Democratic Party, the difference is the Democratic Party's entire philosophy is to divide.
Yeah, right.
Their whole philosophy is that is, when you look at, as we've talked about, identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals, having a victim-oppressor narrative, or a victim-oppressor belief. And we've seen this happen, and one of the easiest ones to look at is the radical transgender movement, where people that were once the heroes of the LGBTQ are now the oppressors, and they're gay.
Yeah.
And that's just an example that across the board, everything, you split. It was interesting because they were talking, did you see the one poll they did of billionaires? And the vast majority of billionaires said, no, we don't like what's going on in California, and we're going to leave. And the reaction was, yeah, but you've been voting Democrat for such a long time.
Right.
How many of you have voted Democrat, and now you're saying we can't believe we're doing this? Well, what the hell did you think they were about? You look at Virginia, for example, because this narrative's starting to come out, and I see Republicans hitting it. They should hit it very strong. They should hit this very, very strong. The warning that Republicans should give with the midterms coming up is look at Virginia. They promised you they were going to do something about affordability, and what did they do? They went after dozens of taxes that will hit the middle class. They talk affordability, but they really don't care about affordability. Mondami is facing the same thing. Well, the stories of him saying, "Well, I don't believe these these food delivery services are these people are paid enough. We need to increase the wages of all the workers out there, and so we're going to put a city tax on this and a city tax on this and a city tax on this." Well, who pays for it?
Right. Who pays for it? And they always pretend like that money's going to go for its intended intended purpose, but it's not. It doesn't. It goes for the cost of government.
I always find it's very interesting, and I view them as adults, and I really, Mondami, what is he, in his 30s?
Yeah, I think
he's compared to me, he's
33.
Right, compared to me, he's a child. But his mentality, his economic mentality is that of a child. They don't really think, they don't look at the entire picture, the entire pie. They don't understand, and maybe some of them do understand economics, but they refuse to accept economics. And something you and I have talked about for the longest time is you can affect an economy as a politician. The one thing you can't change, and for God's sakes, I have no idea why so many people get into politics and believe that they can change economics, and you can't change economics.
Nope.
You cannot change. Economics is one simple thing, how people respond to incentive, and then, therefore, disincentive, which is negative incentive. So, and it's something that you and I have talked about for the longest time. I'll never forget when we were pounding on it, and an economist, I think it was from Rochester, came out, this was about 15 years ago, and just said, he goes, people try to make economics complicated. It's very simple. It's how people respond to incentive. And that's why you have the Democrats out there constantly saying, well, people shouldn't do it this way. People should, if people did the right thing, then we wouldn't have this problem. That if people didn't pay attention to economics, if the instinct of human beings was they believe should not be self-preservation.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you're going to have a hard time doing that when you talk about self-preservation when it comes to money, because that's about self-preservation. You don't want to lose your home. You don't want to lose your car. You want to keep your job. You want to pay your bills. You want to save money. You want to see your kids have a better life. Therefore, you're going to be concerned with your own self-interest. And they're like, no, you shouldn't be.
Well, they take advantage of the chaos. First of all, they create the chaos. They start the fire, then they run around front with a small water hose, pretending they're going to put the fire out. And politically, where they get that leverage is, again, you create a massive situation economically. We've seen it in recent years. For a generation, it was record high numbers. Over, was it 9.2? Where did we get to our highest on inflation?
A little over 9%.
Yeah. And for a generation, again, that was the first time they had been through that. You create that and the chaos that follows. You create the solution for the chaos that follows, which was hand out money. We're gonna do all these great things. We're gonna hand out money, and then things get unbelievably unaffordable, and you want to hand out more free stuff. But when people are drowning, when they're underwater, they just want air. They don't care where it comes from.
Well, I've seen, for example, the Republicans, for the Republicans not to learn the lesson that that made it so the Democrats lost in 2024, to not learn the economic lesson of prices, and to just ignore as if it doesn't exist.
Right.
And, Besson's been out there, has for the last week. The economy's doing great. The economy's doing great. And every time they say it, people say, no, it's not. Yeah, but by this factor, it is. And they have some good points. By those factors, it might be.
Then break down the positive versus the negative and be real about it.
Right. But when you just say, in general, the economy, people say, my economy isn't.
Right.
And the Republicans and this administration have not yet learned that lesson. They're falling into the same trap that Biden fell into. You can have good economic growth. You can have good profits from companies. Mm-hmm. If prices keep going up, you lose an election.
Right. Exactly.
But prices aren't going up as fast. People don't care. People don't sit there and say, well, it's only 2.7% here during the Trump administration right now, and it got up to 9%. Therefore, I feel much. People don't think that way. Politicians throw out that blah, 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 blah. The public says, I don't care. And if you say 2.7%, it's 2.7% on top of the 25% that we've seen so far. And, hey, he said he was going to lower prices from day one.
Right.
That's how people talk about it. And they're out there going, but you must understand, but if we get the Fed and if we get this, blah, 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 and the profit motives of these particular companies, the profit margin, blah, 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 you're talking to nobody.
No, because, again, the work has to be done. The talking doesn't matter. In fact, in good times, you won't have to say a thing.
And so
the economy is actually chugging along nicely, you don't have to say a thing.
And the Democrats are trying to take advantage of that, which they did in Virginia, and this is why the Republicans need to hit back on this. And what do? We're going to make it affordable. As soon as they get in, how many bills to raise taxes that's going to hit the poor and the middle class the hardest, and they don't care.
No. It's the Obama approach. It's the left approach.
Well,
that's what you do.
That's the problem with all these states. As they keep losing people that probably are more Republican, they're going to be more blue, more radical. More companies are going to move. I was watching a YouTube video on Oregon yesterday, and what the Dutch brothers, the coffee place, they lost that.
Right.
They went to Arizona, and there was a comparison. They start talking about what Oregon's losing.
Right.
Like, companies don't want to be there. They want to be, and they talk about once you get people moving into states like Texas or Arizona, whatever, where Florida, where they're moving in, that means there's more of a labor supply for them. There's more choice for them.
It used to be that you had to offer that incentive for people to move to those states. You don't. They're there.
Yeah.
You have a large pool of potential talent, basically, already set up in those states, and that makes it easier.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready. The top 2 violations written against drivers every year are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So all we have to do is sit back here and do nothing, and we'll talk Taylor Swift all day, and we'll just watch as the census moves it more towards a conservative country just based on internal migration of the citizens of the country.
You know, it's interesting because the Dallas Morning News, this goes back a ways. I want to say it could have been 10 years ago. They had an interactive map on their website of how things were changing in our area, in the DFW area, and what congressional districts basically might look like, what precincts might look like, and everything else. And for the most part, they were right, now so far. And you look at how people then migrate on the larger scale within the country from New York or California. That's the real game changer. The cities becoming blue isn't a real surprise. But and I don't think this is a surprise. It's a reality that the Democrats really haven't dealt with yet. And I don't think they will. I think they'll ignore it. I think they're, at some point they'll say, just like they're saying we need to abolish the Senate and pack the courts, we need to abolish the Senate and the House. we need to, we need to do away with that because it's not working in our favor anymore.
Well, the whole thing is the Senate is working in their favor.
It is.
That's the that.
Yeah,
that,
and they still want to do away with it.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app, and you can listen when and where you choose. Now, anybody who's listened to the show for any length of time, you know that we talk ideas and we believe in ideas, and we don't necessarily talk. Not that we don't ever, but normally we don't talk Republican versus Democrat. We talk conservative libertarian ideas versus liberal ideas.
Yeah.
So we have no problem criticizing the Republicans when they fail to do what we believe they should be doing. Our loyalty is to the ideas, not to people or political parties. And the political party, which has been over the years much more in line, not totally, not probably maybe 70% in line with us, has been the Republican Party. With the Democrats, it's basically been zero. So, we have no problem criticizing the Republicans if we believe they're wrong, or the president or his administration. But when we do that, understand that you have seen just over the last week the reason that the Democrats take it to a place of complete evil and insanity. We've seen that. Now, when you look at where the Democratic Party stands, and this goes back to the census and where people are going, but you take all the big issues. You take identity politics, which they admit is a problem, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right, they're not denying it.
Yep.
They've talked about identity politics, which is judging people by groups and not individuals. America doesn't work like that.
Right.
America's not, people do not, in the majority of people in their relationships don't give a damn what your skin color is.
Right.
They don't care. They just don't care. They don't care what your ethnicity is. All they care is, are you okay? Are you a cool person? You're a person of character. Can I trust you? Those are the things that most people deal with. For the Democrats to still be in the Neanderthal mindset, which is so incredibly Neanderthal, Eric, because we're talking, when we talk identity politics, we're talking racism.
Mm-hmm.
And they are blunt about it, is something they're never going to win with the American public. You might have been able to win with that type of racism and bigotry 100 years ago. You can't win that in 2026. So there's really no compromising there's nowhere to compromise. Nowhere to compromise on identity politics. Yeah, but don't you think that all people with blue eyes, don't you believe that all women with brown eyes are basically insane? All right, well, there's exceptions to the rule. But
Or all insane people have brown eyes. Actually, is the more accurate quote that somebody may have said along the way and can't be proven. What are you, a cop? Oh,
but
my wife has blue eyes, by the way.
The majority of people don't buy into that. When you look at the Democrats have gotten to the point of and this is the biggest problem they have, of things that are self-evident to the people, denying that they exist. We saw it with Biden. We saw it with the border. The insanity of the radical transgender movement.
Yeah.
When you look at racism, when you look at misogyny, and when you look at greed, liberalism leads in all three. Why? Yeah. Because they accuse companies of being greedy all the time, but companies are making a legitimate profit, and companies, everybody, the buyer, the seller, everything is voluntary. The greed comes from liberalism, which wishes to take money out of your pocket or future generations' pockets to pay for what you want now, and demanding it as if you're owed it. You want greed? That's greed. They've changed the definition of greed.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we all know what greed is. Greed is not being involved in the arena of voluntary actions between people.
Well, and again, their definition of greed does not include the biggest part of that greed, and that would be, or the biggest leverage in a greedy situation, and that would be the power which a government has, the ultimate power. They can control the rules, they control the laws, and when we talk about monopoly, and you've said quite often, it's really hard to pin down. What is a monopoly? Well, we can tell you what a government monopoly is.
Yes, we can. So when you look at that, when you look at jealousy and envy, liberalism survives on that. The victim-oppressor relationship. I'm a victim. You're the oppressor. Who says? I do. Why? Well, let me figure some reason. Because of what people that had the same skin color did at a particular time in history. Yeah, but other people did this. Oh, I don't care about whether other people, did that. Whether, for example, slavery, whatever, which has been universal. It's the fact that some people with your particular skin color did that, so therefore I get reparations my entire life. And critical race theory means that society should be set up to assume that you're always going to be a racist. That all comes from jealousy and envy. That's not, they're playing the racial game, but it's jealousy and envy. That's what the billionaires. You can't make it in life because the billionaires are out there, as if the billionaires have anything to do with your success. All of it's jealousy and envy. Those are all bad emotions for human beings to have, and the American public knows it.
Well, and what's the promise, ultimately, is that you throw out the bait on the free stuff, but ultimately the emotional driver becomes, from the left, punishment. We're going to punish.
Yeah.
We're going to punish. We're going to punish. We're going to punish.
Yeah.
We're going to, which then again, if you don't involve any critical thinking in those moments, then, and you let the emotion drive everything, you raise your fist in the air, yay, and it does nothing for you. In fact,
it can hurt you.
Most often comes back to affect you and everybody else, because if we're talking about the punishment of greater taxation on corporations especially, well, that affects everybody. They're going to raise the cost of goods and services to the point the market will bear, and beyond that, they're going to lay people off, which means, again, more expensive things and also fewer jobs.
Right. And so the whole concept is we're punishing them for being in a voluntary system of economics. We're going to punish them, but in reality, it's a stealth tax on you. You're being punished. I mean, this stuff is so easy. When you've done it for as long as we have, it's easy to see where liberalism is going. And now we look at what's going on right now. We look at the screams of fascism, of Nazism, all this for what ICE and the Border Patrol are doing. And so everything they have flipped over posterior backwards. Now fascism has become federal law enforcement enforcing the laws that were created by the elected representatives of the people. The Border Patrol and ICE are involved in exactly what is opposite of fascism and Nazism. It's 180 degrees opposite. Now, you may look at it and you say, yeah, but those people didn't act properly in that case. Well, yeah, we have police officers that had been convicted of doing the wrong things. It doesn't mean that the police enforcing the law somehow makes them stormtroopers, Nazis, jackbooted thugs. I haven't used that one in 30 years. It means the opposite of that. And that really, to me, I find incredible, because right now, and we touched on this the last couple of days, what do they want? What is it that we know what Trump, and we know what the American public wants from Trump, the number one thing. And it was the majority of people that illegal immigrants should not be in the United States. And then you can break it down. Well, yeah, people that have been here a long time and haven't caused any problems, maybe they should be allowed to stay. Yeah, but that's not what the left is saying.
No.
They'll use that once in a while, but in practice, they want criminal illegal immigrants to stay and they want illegal immigrants that have gone through the court system and have been told, you've got a deportation order, you need to leave. They want them all to stay. The other thing they're stating is that the federal government has no business in their state. Right. That the federal government, in essence, does not exist. That they are saying we are not going to abide what the elected representatives of the people of the United States have legislated through the Constitution. They go to hell with the Constitution, the hell with the elected representatives, to hell with the people. We want what we want, and we want it now, no matter what, and we'll make it up as we go along. And in the meantime, while we're acting like fascists, we're going to call you the fascist.
Yep. It's always, the accusation is always based on how they're behaving.
And you know something? Watching, for example, Scott Jennings, I really can't watch it as much anymore because he can never get out the full statement. I could never get that out on CNN. The whole thing that we just did right now, you and I just did right now, you could never get that and complete the thought. And it's absolutely necessary for them to have, 6 people arguing because you never solve anything. It's blah, 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 blah. Notice Scott Jennings can hardly ever finish a thought.
Right.
They don't want the thought being finished.
No.
They want to sit there and go, well, we got to take that in a different direction. Interrupt them now, do this. All this panel discussion gets you nowhere because you can never, because when you complete the thought as we just did there, you cannot debate it. It's not debatable.
This is why the left does nothing but creates chaos in situations, whether it's a panel discussion or anything. You don't leave room for the debate and the completion of the thought, ever.
Yep.
You never, ever leave room for an actual discussion. That's not allowed by the left.
They don't want it.
Because they're defeated by that very thing, by a debate. They can't have a debate.
There isn't one thing that we said there that isn't 100% true.
No. It's
all, and they've flipped it posterior backwards, that following what is viewed in our history as the best way to govern, where the people have a voice, the Democrats now view and call that fascism and Nazism.
Yep. Right.
And they're doing it every day in Minneapolis and in Minnesota.
Right.
And then when you see, what was it, the DA of, was it the state attorney general or the DA in Philadelphia? We're going to go after these ICE agents.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're openly talking revolution, that the elected representatives of the people of the United States should have zero power.
It's inevitable. It was always inevitable. Because if the basis of your entire agenda is to create that chaos and have a lawless society, look at the history, recent years. They were able to set up their own little area during the whole Chad thing. Chop, Chad, whatever it was. And we were asking the question, what about the locals? What about those who just want peace in their community? Even if they agree with those people, they don't want the chaos. It doesn't matter. There must be chaos.
You think about it. They set up their mini third world country and viewed it as a success.
No, that's a win for them.
I know. We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I guess the question would be, everything we just talked about the last 15 minutes or so, where's the negotiation point? Where do you negotiate? Where's the compromise? Where's the compromise with identity politics, the racism with identity politics? Where's the compromise with the radical transgender movement? Where's the compromise with Democrats who say that Republicans are fascist and Nazis for enforcing the law of the elected representatives of we the people?
There's no middle ground.
Right. Where's the middle ground with people who take a label and change the definition 100%? Where's somebody tell me on the left, where's the compromise?
Well, the Republicans have been going further and further left for years because of compromise. You can't get tired of fighting. The fight must be real, and you must fight for what you believe and the very values of this country.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Well, it only took me 43 minutes to get into work tonight versus 58 last night, and normally it takes me about anywhere between 30 and 33 minutes to on a perfectly dry day when it's not raining or anything to get into work.
Yeah, not bad. We didn't get the meltdown that we thought we were going to get.
No.
Temperatures got warm enough, but you just didn't have plentiful sunshine to get that radiant heat going, and it still on the interior roads is very sloppy.
Yeah.
And we've got
mess.
freezing fog this morning.
I don't want to see that. Now, hopefully, it's going to be very light when I go home.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at it specifically going, I don't need freezing fog that sticks to the road.
Right.
No. But then again, I'm not going to complain because 49 years ago today, as the History Channel called it, the wrath of God.
Blizzard of 77.
The blizzard of 77 in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
40-foot drifts. Houses covered completely with snow.
Discotheques had to close. Sorry, I thought I'd throw in something.
KC and the Sunshine Band
couldn't do their show.
Was quiet for a week.
That's not the way I like it.
People kept beer in their garage refrigerator to keep it warm. I'm not kidding you. They did.
Yeah,
people that had beer in their because it got down to -5, -6 degrees below zero. But that was really interesting because that was when Lake Erie was frozen, and during the winter, all this snow, like 10 feet of snow, had piled up on the ice.
Yeah,
on Lake Erie, and like 70-mile-an-hour winds just came and just blew it right. I think we got about 22 inches, 23 inches in the first few days. Because it went from the 28th to the 1st, but we had, I remember.
Okay, I must have forgot about this. We talked about this for years. It went for like 3 days?
Well,
4 days?
Actually, it's not considered it, but when my grandfather died like 2 weeks before. And I remember when he was in the hospital, it was about a week before, because he was 2 weeks before when we went to trying to get to the hospital, and it was unbelievable. I mean, it was some of the worst stuff I'd ever seen. And that was snow that just kept piling up and piling up and piling up and piling up. So it was all the snow that came before and the fact that Lake Erie froze so early that it was sitting on Lake Erie, 10 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet of snow on the ice, and almost hurricane-level winds, like 70-mile-an-hour winds, came right across, picked up all of that stuff, and just dumped it on the city of Buffalo and the suburbs. And so you had drifts that went 40, 50 feet. I'll never forget going through where I grew up in the town of Tonawanda, which means the town of swift water. And for people that don't know, there's the town of Tonawanda, the city of Tonawanda, and the city of North Tonawanda. And I used to have a girlfriend. Whenever I said Tonawanda, that was her trigger point. She would go crazy. She hated the word Tonawanda. God is my witness. Go, stop saying that. So then, me.
Yeah,
hey,
you know, say it every chance you get.
I was born Tonawanda, and it means swift water, right next to the Niagara River. Well, going through, anybody who's ever been there, the Youngman Highway, right near the Brighton Golf Course. It's where I still go and hit golf balls. I go with my nephew, my great nephew. We might do it here if I'm back in the next couple of weeks if the snow will let me. They have a big golf dome there, but there used to be a golf course. There was a golf course there, but we were going through the suburban parts of it, and we were going down one road. I think it was Ensminger Road, and there was snow. It was almost, Eric, it had drifted to the point where it actually started curving. It sort of looked like the old Dallas Cowboy Stadium. You had the little hole like in the roof, but it just kept growing. And
I'm looking at some pictures on Google. If you just Google blizzard of 77 Buffalo.
Do they have the one with the kids touching the streetlights?
I think
there's the one with the kids touching.
This isn't it, but I've seen it before.
One of the snows all over.
They're basically standing on a drift, and the street light is below them.
Yeah.
It
was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
There's a 2-story house here, and basically kids are sledding down from the roof, which is where the snow is up to, in this 2-story house. Unreal pictures here, because that makes you it would make me feel. Look, I was born in Omaha. I was born on an Air Force base in Omaha, Offutt Air Force Base, and that's where we lived until I was 4. And I do remember running out into the snow. My mom says I never waited to even get dressed. I would get up in my pajamas and run when it snowed, because we had this huge hill on the base. We lived in a cul-de-sac, and behind us was this open field. It wasn't our backyard, but it was an open field with a huge hill, and that's where all the kids went. And, man, I wanted to go. I wanted to go play in the snow. So I loved it. But the blizzard of 77 would have me thinking I would have been an 11. That would have me thinking I would never get warm again, based on the pictures I've seen and your descriptions.
Well, it was interesting because there was, I know for us, as I was in college at the time, and I didn't go to work, so I didn't get stuck at work, which I worked in downtown Buffalo. And if you got stuck down there, you might not, some people didn't get home for probably 10 days.
Yeah.
You just couldn't move. I mean, they were moving everything with snowmobiles, medicine, emergency medicine. I mean, it just was, you couldn't move. And it was, it's on YouTube, the History Channel. It's called The Wrath of God. And it just was, it was the only time in my life that I had to go through Army checkpoints to get to work. Once we opened, the banks had to open because banks have to be open.
Yeah.
And so we were allowed to go into, there were certain routes streets that they plowed, but I had to go through an Army checkpoint.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how long I did, but a few times, and there's, the military trucks and armed soldiers, all right, the National Guard, I'm sure, but, it's military, and you're just like, whoa, you had to show them your bank ID, and then they're like going to work at the bank. They're like, fine, but they weren't letting anybody travel. But it was, and the funny thing is, it's amazing that just looking at where I am, we got about 3 inches of ice and sleet. It still hasn't melted. It's still very, very dangerous. But you realize without the equipment, without the salt, that just a small amount of snow or sleet or freezing rain can shut down a society for a couple of days.
Well, because it's not just the roads, but it's also the parking lots and sidewalks of people have to navigate on foot when they get to their destination. This is the reason why schools, like we've got school districts closed still.
Yeah, third day in a row.
And I did find the picture of the kids reaching up to touch the traffic light.
Yeah,
the stop sign is the one that was buried, not the traffic light. But there's a buried stop sign. That's not even. That's like one of the smaller trips compared to some of the other photos.
Well, there's the one photo right near, I think it's the I-90. And they have, a sign that's probably 25 feet in the air, and the kids are touching the sign.
Yeah.
Standing on a snowdrift.
Yeah.
Now, think about it.
Yeah.
How hard that's, because.
Yeah, it's got to support you.
It's got to support you. So
Yeah.
you walk. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of snow
That's a pack.
packed in there.
Yeah.
And you had, now I will say this, though. In the growing up in the town that I did.
The town of Tonawanda?
Yes, the town of Tonawanda. They had to, and I told the story the other day because somebody asked, they had on Facebook, who was your favorite teacher? And I did have to say from Kenmore West, one of I'd mentioned two teachers, Mr. Yakupovich, because he gave me great life advice. He was the coach of the #1 high school football team in 1969, Kenmore West, the year before I went there.
Awesome.
But I had him for my German teacher, and he gave me great advice in life. He said, McNamara, stop picking your nose. And it's something that really, has, I've really, in my life, come to realize that that's really valuable advice. In fact, Seinfeld did an episode on that.
Right. I had a science teacher one time tell me, close your mouth, a fly will get in there. I was like, what? I didn't even realize I'm just sitting there with my mouth open.
But they, in the suburbs, you can't park on the street at night after like November 1st. You cannot park on the street. They will ticket you and tow you very quickly because the plows, they want the plows to be able to just go right down every single street. In Buffalo, the houses are so old, it was before anybody really had a car. So everybody's on the street. So Buffalo was, there were people that just, my gosh, they probably had to use emergency services maybe close to a month after that because they just couldn't get out. Mm-hmm. It was just, it was a sight to be seen, and it was a disaster area and all that. So I was just thinking about that because it's the anniversary today. And, of course, there's that little poster that's out that says Blizzard of 77, which was February 28th through February 2nd, I believe it is.
January 28th through February.
What did I say?
I think it said February.
Yeah. Blizzard of 77, Buffalo, New York, January 28th through February 1st. And then it shows the City Hall, and it says schools closed, the Skyway closed, stores closed, roads closed, newspapers closed, City Hall closed, the auditorium closed, the airport closed, bars open.
Perfect. You got to have some sanity.
Yes, just like COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
The bars.
The bars and liquor stores stayed open.
Remember?
They extended the laws, actually, and since then have made some of them permanent on alcohol delivery in our state. And likely other states, I don't know. But I know in our state, they changed the laws so you could get drunker, in case we have another massive global epidemic. I was like, and then the poll that came out, 50% of the people that were working from home during COVID admitted to drinking throughout the day, and the other 50% admitted eventually to lying about it. I will say this, crazy.
I've never ordered out for booze.
No, it was, what was weird is that you could get it to go at like drive-throughs. And I was like, well, how do they do that? Well, you could go and like there's this one place here, I didn't even know they served alcohol. It's a fast food place. And it's like, now you can get it to go, and they have to put a seal on the lid. Like you can't break the seal while you're driving or before you get on the road. I just always saw that as, That's just wild because heaven forbid you be without your alcohol for a minute. It was just weird. And then there was a law that, okay, you could get alcohol to go if you also bought food with it or something. I don't know if that was Texas or Florida or both. But then I think they changed that. It's like our Sunday law here at restaurants serving alcohol. It's at a certain point, I forget which time of the morning, they can start serving it if it's with food. So some places will just bring you a bowl of chips or whatever. One restaurant, a family member worked there. They brought you one chip with your drink so they could serve drinks early.
Bet you can't drink one.
And
okay, that was such an old potato chip commercial from the 70s.
Probably. And then, there's all these weird laws regarding alcohol that basically became permanent after COVID. So no surprise on the whole Buffalo thing, bars being open. I don't know how again, at the age of 4, we moved to Texas, so I haven't grown up in wintry weather. That's real wintry weather. This is what we get once a year usually,
right?
And then it's over, and then we move on.
It's the only time I ever wore snowshoes.
Wow.
My father had them for some reason. We never used them. Blizzard 77.
The tennis racket looking things?
Yeah. And one of us went, well, let's see if we can do snowshoes.
Yeah.
I remember standing with my buddy Jeff in our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the snow was probably up to our, I don't know, probably taller than us, but we were stepped into, it was up to our waist. Yeah. And we were just standing there as like the 70-mile-an-hour winds were hitting us. We were dressed like Eskimos, and we were trying to stand up and our whole, bottom part of our bodies, probably up to our hips, was in snow, and it was still pushing us. It was like, whoa, man, oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we moved to San Antonio, we still had leftover sleds from living in Omaha. And my older brothers, I have 2 older brothers that were born in South Dakota. So we had winter gear still with us. And it snowed in San Antonio one time that I remember. I don't know how many times it has, but when we lived there, it snowed one time, and we were ready to go. We were the heroes on the block because we had all the sleds and gear and everything else. But there's no way. If I lived through the blizzard of 77 as an adult, I would have to rethink where I was going to live after that. Because, again, it would feel like you were never going to be warm again, that you were never going to see grass again.
But you know something? The electricity stayed on. Wow. Utilities worked.
Wow.
Water. I mean, everything was there.
Wow.
We actually went to the grocery. We walked up in the snowshoes. We actually walked up to the grocery store, got some groceries, and walked back.
Wow.
In the middle of it. But again, our streets were always open.
Yeah. Interesting.
Plows were. Now, you couldn't get out of your driveway because they We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Wonder about the weather for the rest of the week?
We continue to see reinforcing surges, cold fronts bringing additional cold air down. Remainder of this week, we've got one system moving through the Great Lakes region now. That'll sweep off the Atlantic coast. So yet another round of cold, windy weather. That'll be repeated later this week.
With unusually low temperatures in much of the eastern U.S. through the week, according to USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey. He says that raises concerns about overwintering crops and livestock impacted by bitter cold.
But we are watching for the potential for an East Coast storm as early as this weekend. If that system materializes close enough to the coast and rapidly intensifies, we could be looking at additional snow and wind in areas that are still digging out. Areas further inland and especially west of the Appalachians, it looks like it will just stay cold and mostly dry.
The West, meanwhile, will be in week 3 of a multi-week dry spell, featuring above normal temperatures and impacts to western mountain snowpack levels. I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, everything going on in Minneapolis. We'll tell you the outright lies. Two of them, one came in from Jacob Fry. Jonathan Turley talked about it. And then the other one from Shapiro in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Absolute lies.
Yep.
I mean, my God, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it coming up next.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. The entire thing going on in Minneapolis, the thing that I find absolutely fascinating, is that when you and I look at it, we say, well, everything that Fry and Walsh is talking about is a complete lie. How they are framing this is a complete lie. Talking about ICE is like the Gestapo, that this is fascism, it's Nazism, whatever. We know it's 180 degrees different. And we know it because anybody who understands how the country is run through the Constitution knows that every single law that ICE or the Border Patrol is enforcing is through the democratic process. Every single law that they're doing, everything that they're doing is because we, the people, have told them to do so. It's the opposite of fascism. It's the opposite of Nazism. Let's listen to Jonathan Turley talk about what's going on in Minnesota, which he just says, wow, here we go.
Minnesota, for its part, has got to step forward and show greater responsibility. Governor Walz just referred to the taking of individuals for removal under a federal law as analogous to capturing people for genocide. He actually said that the children of Minnesota are like Anne Frank. That's the type of rhetoric that is still coming out of the governor's office.
Think about it. All the riots, everything you see is based on a lie.
Yep.
Now, we shouldn't be surprised by that with the radical transgender movement, should we? Because that's all based on a lie, too. We just can't talk about it. We talk about it. We can't talk about it. You want us to talk about it? We can't talk about it. And then, did I save it here? The one where Josh Shapiro, I thought I saved it, where Josh Shapiro's talking about the 10th Amendment.
Yeah.
That we have to stop this. It's what they're doing is unconstitutional.
Right.
It shows you that Josh Shapiro, even though he understands he's in the party of anti-Semitism after his book.
Yeah.
He's as radical as they all are.
Yep.
He has 0 point at all. And the problem is they go on media that will never question whether what they're saying is actually true or not. But Shapiro was talking about the fact that, the 10th Amendment, which means that ICE and the forget about the groups, that the federal government going after illegal immigrants is against the Constitution of the United States. Is there any truth to that at all? Is there 0.5% of 1% truth to that? Is there any truth to what Josh Shapiro was saying?
No.
And he's viewed as a moderate, and it's completely, totally, 100% false. And that's what we're dealing with. Things are that are absolutely... Now, if you don't like the way that, if you believe that any federal officer, just like any police officer, has committed a crime, that's fine. You investigate it.
Due
right?
process.
Due process for everybody.
Yep.
So nobody is saying that due process goes away. What we're simply saying is these are the laws of the elected representatives through we the people, and every time any of those agitators or any of the agitator enablers, the governor or the mayor of Minneapolis, call it fascism or Nazism, or it's like the Gestapo, or somehow it's like the Holocaust. They're doing that because they wish for the people that are listening to them that they know are completely ignorant of the Constitution. They wish for them to commit violent acts. There's no other reason that you do that. It's completely false what they're saying. There isn't one iota of truth to it. None.
Right. Well, you can't stoke the flames with the truth.
No, you can't.
You can't incite people with the truth. It has to be a lie. And it has to be because they saw this working after the ICE shooting in Alvarado, Texas. Was anybody on the left calling for sanity? Were they calling for anything other than what we're seeing right now? Go to the streets is what they're saying. Take it to the streets.
Yep. Because what they're claiming is the democratic process is not working.
They're far beyond that.
And the democratic process is not in effect, that this is actually fascism or Nazism.
Right. They're calling,
right.
It used to be, remember when it was it vote or die?
Yeah, exactly.
Who was that? Was that P. Diddy? Well, that didn't age well. Yeah, but it's, it's, they're so far past that, get out the vote thing. No. They're waging war.
Here's Josh Shapiro. I found the audio.
All right,
here we go. All right.
To prepare for a federal onslaught where they would send troops in to undermine the freedoms and the constitutional rights of our citizens. Think about that for a moment. This is un-American. But I want the good people of Pennsylvania to know, I want the American people to know that we will do everything in our power to protect them from the federal overreach. There is such a thing as the 10th Amendment. I believe the federal government is violating that in Minnesota. We will stand tall and not allow them to violate it in Pennsylvania. We'll defend the people here, and we will stand up to this federal overreach.
What the hell's he talking about?
Federal overreach as if they don't have jurisdiction.
Yeah, as if they don't have jurisdiction to go after criminal illegal immigrants,
right?
Illegal immigrants in this country with deportation orders, and illegal immigrants. You may not like it, but it's all lawful, again, through the people of the United States, through their elected representatives, all of it.
The Obama administration sued Arizona because Arizona was trying to control their own borders and assist the federal government. And they successfully sued, the Obama administration successfully sued the state of Arizona. Jan Brewer at the time was governor.
Yep.
And the court came back and said, nope, that's the role of the federal government. But it was Obama's administration that took them on legally and won. And now the left is, nope, no federal government at all. Because where they're going, of course, is where many of the radical protesters have said in recent days, no borders.
Yeah.
We don't want borders.
Yep. And what we know is they're lying about what's going on in order to protect criminal, illegal immigrants in this country, because they want it all. Josh Shapiro now shows you, even though he understands he's part of a racist party, after writing the book about what Kamala Harris's people asked him.
Yeah, if he was a double agent for Israel.
He understands the identity politics and the racism of his party. He doesn't care. He'll still continue to lie. I mean, and that's the thing, Eric. Anybody who has any concept of how law is formed in this country, any concept, knows that what Josh Shapiro was saying is a lie. Know that what the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, what Waltz is saying, all of it's a lie. Yeah. None of it is based in reality at all.
No.
None of it. There isn't 1% truth to what they're saying. It's a lie across the board.
Right.
And by the way, Josh Shapiro knows he's lying. He's not an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
10th Amendment's got nothing to do with it. We're going to stop the federal government. By the way, you better check with Obama. He's the one that made it clear through the Supreme Court ruling in Arizona, as Eric just said.
Yep. That is the role of the federal government, and the state has to stay out of it.
You can't even help them enforce the law if the federal government doesn't want you to.
Right.
It is completely, according to the Supreme Court, that liberals cheered.
Yeah.
That it is up to the federal government to do all illegal immigrant enforcement in this country.
Yep.
Why? Because the people, we the people through the elected representatives, wanted it that way. There's no fascism. There's no Nazism. There's no Gestapo. There's no Holocaust. It's all BS that they're throwing at ignorant people because they hope that by riling these people up with rage, because they're like, these people are clueless. They have no idea how the system runs. We can get them so agitated, they'll commit acts of violence, and hey, maybe we'll get a martyr. I think they want a martyr because you don't do this. It's unacceptable what they're doing because there's only one reason you lie like this, and that's because you want the violence.
Oh, yeah. You can't motivate people with the truth in this situation.
Yeah, you can't. Well, we disagree with what the elected representatives of the people have put into law, and even though everything that's happening is constitutional and lawful, we disagree with it. We can't get people to riot by saying that.
Doesn't work. Once again, the truth works against you.
Yeah.
For the left, it does on just about everything.
And these are the same. There's no difference between this than the border secure. There's no difference between this and a man can be a woman.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that and think about this, all the major issues are completely delusional lies.
Right.
All the major issues that they stand on.
Well, I'm waiting for, and someone may have, and it just didn't reach the top of the headlines in terms of stories right now. I'm waiting for someone on the left to start talking about amnesty. That would be the kumbaya moment, right? Well, some Republicans believe and some Democrats believe that's where we can find middle ground. Well, amnesty gets you to another open border situation very quickly, because once you create that law, the clock is ticking, which means illegals know the clock is ticking, and if you're going to get here, then you have to get here now.
It was Katie Pavlich who said it the other day, who said, I think it was on X, because I didn't know who said it yesterday. She said, why don't we just send every governor of every state to say, if you're an illegal immigrant, go to where they love you. We're pulling the troops out. You can enjoy a great life in Minneapolis. Here's a free bus ticket.
Well, I was thinking the same thing. And for the governors of states that do want ICE in there enforcing federal law and are going to cooperate, then they'll have the comparison. If we want to do this little experiment, then let them have their experiment. But the problem is it endangers the life of people who don't want that they don't
Right.
want criminal elements from other nations here.
Yeah. And your goal is not your goal is to follow the law.
Right.
Your goal is not to
of
say,
the United
right,
States,
right.
not pick and choose which states.
Exactly. That's the problem with it.
Yep.
I understand the emotion behind it.
Oh no,
Let
I mean
them-
leave them to their own devices and destroy their own state. But innocent people, again,
innocent Americans,
yes, get hurt, and that's going to be the case.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let me play one more audio cut. This is from the Philadelphia DA, Larry Krasner. Listen to this. All based on lies.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right.
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will.
There you go.
There you go.
He's the DA.
Yep.
This is the DA. Everything is based on a lie.
Right.
Everything that ICE and the Border Patrol are doing is through the elected representatives of we, the people of the United States.
Yep.
The DA, Larry Krasner, has to lie about it. And the only reason, again, they're lying is because they're hoping for violent acts and they want more martyrs because they know they can't convince in any other way.
Well,
you give us what we want or we cause chaos.
Well, the implied order's right there. Hunt them down. We're going to hunt you down.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.